Hello, welcome to Mobile Computer. Today I'm taking a look at the Sony VAIO P series, or rather another look at the Sony VAIO P series. Already had a couple of videos of this, but both were in less than ideal conditions. The first was at CES a few weeks ago, and then we followed that up with some footage at the European launch in Paris. We have, however, now got the P series into the mobile computer office, so we can take a proper look under better lighting and sound conditions, and obviously here it is. I've kept my hands out of the frame so far deliberately because I want to stress just how small this laptop or ultramobile or netbook computer is. I'm still not quite sure what to call it, but as you can see, it is tiny. It's by far the smallest laptop or ultra portable we've ever seen, and by far the lightest. It weighs just over half a kilo, extremely thin. An odd shape for a computer, and I'll show the insides shortly. You can see it's very, very long and very thin, but it's just, even when you're handling it, it's impossible to get over just how compact and how light this is. Now obviously, being such a small device, there are a few compromises, but not so many as you might think. I guess one of the most obvious is a lack of ports, and you just get one USB port and a headphone socket on the left hand side, another USB port and a proprietary connector on the right hand side, and that's it really. There's a switch on the front for Wi-Fi and for power, and a couple of memory card slots, but there's no Ethernet, no VGA out or anything like that. That proprietary port does let you connect a port replicator that has an Ethernet port on it, and that's bundled with the two top-end models. But I think, you know, the lack of ports is a worthy trade-off for a device this size, and it has more than the MacBook Air, for example, which is a device I guess this will be compared to. And just to stress how small this is externally, I've got a Samsung NC10 netbook here. Again, this is quite a compact netbook, but when I put the VAIO P series on top, you can see the size difference. It is tiny, and look how thin it is. Extremely impressive. Now, I mentioned compromises. There's a few compromises on the outside of the VAIO. There's a few compromises on the inside as well, but not quite so many as you might think. I'll pop it open. Here we go. Now, that wide lid is almost filled with screen. It has a fairly small 8-inch screen, which hopefully you can see. There we go, that's a better angle. This is 8 inches across, but it's extremely wide. It has a resolution of 1600 by 768, so that is incredibly high for a screen this size, and incredibly high for a computer this size. The keyboard is a little bit narrower than the ones on other netbooks, as you saw with the Wind a moment ago. This is a good 20mm or so shorter, but the keys are still actually a good size. It has this kind of Scrabble tile keyboard, as on other Sony laptops, and the keys are well spaced. I'm not sure it's actually that comfortable to type on. The keys feel a little bit dead to me. There's plenty of travel in them, but I guess you probably get used to it with lots of typing, but there's not a lot of tactile feedback. And when you get to the end of the travel, it just kind of goes all squidgy and spongy. But yeah, I think you probably adapt to that, or get used to it at least. No real shrunken keys. This top row function keys is slightly smaller, as are the cursor keys. Nice large backspace key, nice large enter key, shrunken right-hand shift key, but the left-hand one is large. So again, you know, given the size, it's a pretty good job by Sony. Now obviously there's no wrist rest, there's just empty space there, and so the pointing device is a track point joystick. Now I actually quite like those. I don't think they're a pain to use, and on a device this size I'd much rather lose some extra bulk and have a track point device, and the buttons fall quite neatly under the thumb as you're pointing. But you know, some people hate those, some people like them. If you hate it, you're out of luck. You can plug an external mouse into this, I guess, but then that's, you know, a good portion of the device's total size. So you know, if you don't like this kind of pointing device, you are really stuck, I guess. I'll just bring the Samsung NC10 back in just to do a quick keyboard comparison so you can see how the two devices stack up on the inside. Hopefully that will fit in the shot. You can see again how much smaller the P series is, and if I tilt it back a little bit you can see the difference in the lid and the screen size. I'll just move it along to compare those keys. Hopefully the glare isn't too much. There we go. So you can see the keys aren't actually that much smaller than on the NC10, but they do have that space around them. Now this weighs half a kilo, as I mentioned, or just over half a kilo. It's very light. It feels actually fairly well built. The lid is quite thin, but there's flex in there, but it's not the kind of flex that would have you worried for the screen's safety, and there's not much bend in it, and on the whole, you know, this feels quite robust. I know Sony does occasionally get criticised for the build quality of its laptops, but this, so far, feels pretty good. Now, I haven't tried carrying it around all day in a bag or a pocket, so I'm not quite sure how it will fare over time, but again, as a first impression, it feels fairly robust. Now, this is available in 3 models. All use the Intel Atom Z series processor. The entry-level model has the Z520 running at 1.33 GHz. The top-end model has the Z530 running at 1.6 GHz. They all have 2 GB of RAM. The 2 base models have 60 GB hard drives. The top-end model has a 128 GB SSD, and there are 3G options as well. Obviously, they have Wi-Fi. Battery life is reckoned to be about 3 hours. As you can see, the battery isn't huge on the P series. I'll pop it out so you can see. But I think the top end, possibly the top 2 models, do come with a second high-capacity battery that will probably bump that up to 5 hours. Sorry, I haven't battery tested this yet, so I'm not quite sure if that 3-hour figure is accurate. But we should be able to get that information fairly shortly. Now, the P series has been criticised for its price. It's very expensive. The base model starts at $849 including VAT. The top end model with SSD is £1368, £1,368.99. Horribly expensive, particularly given that specification, which is screen side. I've got to say, it is a netbook specification. So, you know, this is a premium aspirational computer, I guess. The fact is, there is nothing even remotely comparable to its size or weight, so I guess that's what you're paying for. The problem, however, is that this being a netbook specification, it has netbook performance, and Sony, rather than stick with Linux or Windows XP to squeeze out every last drop of power, has installed Windows Vista, and that really does slow the computer down. I've got it in hibernate mode at the moment, so I'm going to turn it on by sliding the switch on the front edge here. And hopefully, here we go, it'll power on. So it's restoring from hibernate now. We'll see how long it takes. We did time this actually booting from cold into Vista. It takes a good 3 or 4 minutes until it's actually settled down. So you are hanging around for a hell of a long time. And you can see Vista is not exactly springing to life. Now, I suspect part of this is due to the hard drive. I think there's a 1.8-inch hard drive in here, and they are not fast. The SSD version, I guess, may be a little speedier at reading data, no faster at writing it. So, a combination of hard drive, the resource hog of Windows Vista, and just the fact that netbooks are not powerful machines. The Atom is not a horribly powerful processor. It's capable under certain circumstances, but it's just not up to running Vista. And again, I've been yakking about Vista for, what, 30 seconds, a minute? And Windows is still resuming. Now, I'm not going to carry on filming this. I'm going to stop right here, and when Vista is booted, I'll resume again in a second video. And I'm also going to show you how the P series handles streaming video playback with YouTube and BBC iPlayer. So I'll see you in part 2.